All right, 2021 Mercedes E350 Sedan review in rear-wheel drive. A couple of things to note here. I've already done a review on an E450, so if you want to check that out, go ahead, but that is the cabriolet model. But if you want to get my thoughts on the inline six-cylinder, then definitely go ahead and watch that review. And if you are interested in purchasing this vehicle, or more importantly, if you're interested in leasing this car, it is located at Mercedes-Benz of Cary, North Carolina, and I will leave all of Alex Ward's information down in the description box. But on to this video now. Let's start out with the exterior here and talk about the E-Class. So what is this thing? Well, it's an aspirational piece, right? It's the type of vehicle that you're kind of moving up the ladder here in your corporate job, and you're like, you know, I gotta get a whip to display my my opulence, right, and my new luxurious lifestyle. And this is one of those vehicles, right? You pull up in this thing, it's executive, it gets noticed, of course, and you look good jumping out of this thing, right? It does. It exudes that luxury and that prestige that honestly BMW and Audi, I've always said this, that they can't really capture. BMW is up there, but this Benz, man, with the three-pointed star, the level of prestige that this thing has to bring to the table is just next level. And but enough of the looks. You can make up your own mind on that. I'm more interested in the way that this vehicle drives, so let's go ahead and let's transition over into that. I'm checking out this E350 because I want to test out this four-cylinder one more time. I already tried it in the GLE 350. With this 2-liter four-cylinder, okay, I just want to see how smooth it is and how it's going to react in this E-Class, because at the end of the day, it is a Mercedes-Benz product, and being smooth and quiet is the name of the game. So let's see if this thing delivers. This motor produces about 255 horsepower and about 273 pounds-feet of torque. It is turbocharged. Obviously, I love the inline six. That's kind of the motor to go with if you can, but keep in mind, you're definitely going to be paying a premium for that, even on a lease. So if you can work out a good lease deal, well, there you go. That's definitely the motor to go with. But this four-cylinder, okay, I'm really pleased with this because this is a far smoother four-cylinder experience than I remember with the C300 and something like the GLB 250. You understand? So I don't think most people will have an issue with this. And you know what? The thrust in this car is effortless, and the overall car is effortless and very smooth in its operations. This is going to get some great fuel economy, like 22 city, 31 on the highway. Of course, you have to use premium fuel in this thing, but still, those are some good MPG numbers for a vehicle that weighs about 3,800 pounds. It's about 194 to 196 inches long total. So it's a mid-sized vehicle, of course. It's why it's an E-Class. But anyway, let's merge onto this little highway here, and let's talk about something else. How quiet it is out on the highway. Doing a good speed right now. There's absolutely no real tire noise coming through, just a slight bit of that wind buffeting, which is absolutely normal at higher speeds like this. High speed stability is also very good. So let me talk about something else that's very important. This is nothing like driving a Toyota Camry or like a Honda Accord, and you would hope not, right? But that's not the point. A lot of vehicles today are quiet and comfortable. That's not really a big deal. Even some of the more affordable vehicles are great in terms of the way they handle. But Mercedes, especially when you talk about E-Classes and up, they do have a great body control, a great steering feel that combined together just gives you a very, I guess you could call it a premium experience, okay? The steering is very light in this car. But the body, okay, it's a steel unibody chassis. Mercedes is always known for doing that because they want to keep this car as safe as possible without going into like a all aluminum body structure, right? But even still, they have done a great job keeping the weight down in this car. 3,800 pounds is not bad for a vehicle of this size. And the agility is better than you would expect. Okay, one of the things I noticed, especially with this really solid body structure, this chassis, along with this really light but strangely precise steering, is it always has like this pivoting sensation. It's a really high quality experience that I'm getting driving this car that even BMW and Audi can't really seem to mimic or replicate this type of driving style. It's very unique to Mercedes, and it's one of the main reasons why I like driving this car. And you know, I noticed that the four cylinders in the lesser models weren't really that smooth. They felt a little rattly to me, but with this added smoothness to this four cylinder that I'm experiencing, This has really made it a complete package, and I'm totally not afraid of recommending a 4-cylinder E350 to anyone. Now, this is definitely a great lease car to take advantage of. It's just so fluid in its nature, but it's not like the typical electric steering racks that you're used to. It's married to this great body structure, and that's why it feels so good. And you got this 9-speed transmission. You do have to get in on the throttle a little bit to make it properly downshift to give you the power, but overall, it's a smooth 9-speed automatic, and that's one of the reasons why you get such good fuel economy out on the highway. And you can play with the modes here a little bit, right? You got the little dynamic modes, Sport, Sport Plus, and they actually put the traction control system into a Sport Plus setting as well, so it's a little bit less restrictive, and that means the vehicle will respond better as well. And I do believe there's definitely some fake engine noise being pumped into this cabin here when you put it into the Sport Plus, but you know what, it's not that annoying to me. I have this car over a very jittery road right now, and it is just so damn comfortable. And the response is much better in Sport Plus, but you know, the normal mode is fine for 95% of driving. But anyway, yeah, like I was mentioning, the ride quality is beautiful. It's got 19-inch optional wheels. I hate the way these wheels look, and they're optional, so that's kind of lame. But aside from the way it looks, though, it's got 245 wide Continental rubber in all 4 corners, and sticks to the road really well. I drove a CLS 53 AMG, which is essentially based upon the E-Class platform, and that thing handled so freaking well. I'm glad to see that in this normal E-Class, they have captured some of that handling characteristics. Yet it's so easy, it's so fluid. Go and test drive one for yourself, and definitely compare it with something like the 5 Series and the Audis, and you would understand quickly, I think, the character that this car exudes and the driving characteristic. It's very different from those other competitors. This has more of that 6-figure quality to it when you drive this around, and this is pretty close to 6 figures. You know, this isn't even loaded up to the brim, but it's about $62,000. But again, I feel like this would be a good model to get a good lease deal on because of the rather dumb looking wheels, but it's got a lot of features on this vehicle, which we're about to demonstrate in the interior segment. But before I talk about the interior, just one last thing, and that's going to be the braking performance of this car. Really well done. And you know what, when you come to a hard stop, one of the best things is you don't get thrown forward a lot or anything like that, and when you accelerate, you don't get pushed back to your seat too much. Everything is neutral and everything is elegant in the experience here. And that's what the more base-ish E350, okay? This is nothing fancy, it's not an AMG, it's nothing like that. The way this car is tuned, even in its more base format. So that's what I'm saying. Nice little vehicle to take advantage of, and it's a truly different driving experience from even the European cars, but definitely to the Japanese cars. I can see why so many people flock to this company and to this brand, and why they pay the premium to experience this privilege. So with that, let's go ahead and let's transition over into the interior segment. All right, so now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior, the features, the space, etc. Okay, now this interior space, plenty of character. This is a really gorgeous place to spend time. I will say that much. The wood trimming, this kind of glossy wood finish, looks stunning, along with this macchiato. I'm just gonna call it a white interior space, essentially, because that's what this is, and it does look stunning. Again, another place where Mercedes, in my book, kind of excels compared to the competition is the interior look, man. This looks like a 6-figure plus automobile, because it was lifted pretty much off of the kind of current S-Class, if you will, before the redesign. Now all the new Mercedes-Benz products will be following that big old tablet in the middle design. So this is going to be one of your last generations of the E-Class with this really elegant design with the interior space. So definitely take advantage of that if that's important to you. And I am simply a sucker for white interiors because I like the lines, the swoopiness of it, the design of it. It's all really well done in here. But I will say one of the main drawbacks I noticed to these elegant looking interiors is the kind of solidity of some of these panels. They feel a little bit more hollow, especially when they're sitting out in the sun for a little bit. So I would definitely garage keep these vehicles. Obviously it's a $60,000+ vehicle. You want to keep it in the garage regardless, but I'm just saying that'll really help to preserve the quality of this interior. Use a sunshade as much as you can as well if you're going to park this outside. You really have to step up to an S-Class to get the most solid interior space possible, and that's obviously to be expected, but it's just something I definitely noticed with the Mercedes lineups. Okay, you notice progressively how much more solid the vehicles get when you go from like an A-Class to a C to an E to an S. So one of the things I noticed, but the E-Classes are definitely the minimum place where I would want to start with the Mercedes lineup. Okay, GLEs, E-Classes, CLSs. I know these are expensive cars, but this is the bare minimum where I would want to start with. Okay, steering wheel. Again, I like kind of how chunky it is. It's such an effortless steering rack, but it's kind of got like this BMW girthiness to the steering, so I really like that a lot. The design is great. The gloss black plastic I can do without, but everything else though, really well done. This car also has the optional heated steering wheel. So that's what I'm saying. You have a lot of great options with this car, okay? It's only got the polar white exterior color, but you know what? It's a good looking color for this car. It's very bright. Even though it's not like the optional Designo metallic or anything like that, it's a good looking color, really pops. And with all these features, that's what I'm saying. It's a good little vehicle to lease. A lot of standard features that you get with Mercedes, especially in E-Class, like you would expect, right? It starts at around $54,000, and you do get a lot of nice, useful safety features like the forward collision assistance. The vehicle itself will stomp on the brakes for you if it thinks that you're going to rear end the person in front, so that's nice that it comes standard. Also, you get useful features like blind spot monitoring, heated seats, that's also standard. So all the kind of pragmatic things that you would want, it's there. And one thing I want to mention about the seats, so these kind of have like a proprietary Mercedes technology implemented into them, and that's to kind of keep the heat away from it. So it's a heat reflection seat, and I really tested this out in the convertible review because that was a black interior, and you know what, the seats genuinely felt pretty cool. So that I was really impressed by. But anyway, you got the electric seats for both the driver and the passenger, of course, as well as memory seats for driver and passenger. You have the wonderful Burmester sound system, which is definitely worth getting, but it's part of like a $2,300 or $2,100 premium package, which this vehicle obviously has. And one of the things that you get with that is the Burmester. So a worthwhile feature to get. Also, it's got the optional $1,100 heads-up display, which for a lot of people, they want that. You got the two 12.3-inch screens, which look phenomenal and is of very high quality. I will say there's a lot of getting used to with this, but hey, it's an expensive car. It's a Mercedes. It's definitely got a lot of features for you to play with. Ambient lighting for days. So enjoy all those features. I covered a lot of this stuff in my other Mercedes reviews, so I'll leave a link down to all of those videos I've done, okay? But the Burmester is definitely worth it. Sounds loud. It's crisp. It's a quality system to opt for. One touch up and down windows for all four windows, and it's finished in this alloy material. The doors are kind of light, but they feel solid at the same time. It's just really a glorious thing to interact with, I suppose. Cup holders, wireless charging with this particular model. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, of course, that's essentially standard. Good amount of space in the center armrest, and it's split opening. Glove box has some good space in it. The door pockets allow you to put a very large bottle in there, so that's great. Now let's kind of move on to the rear seats here, because surprisingly there's not that much space in the rear seats. Even though this is used as like a taxi in Europe or whatever, there's surprisingly not that much space. I'm only 5'11" and I sit rather close to the steering wheel. There's plenty of space in the front here to sit, especially if you're taller. Like, that's not even an issue. You can be a giraffe in here. And one other thing I'll mention is the visibility. That's stupendous. Mirrors do a great job. There's nothing really to obstruct you in this vehicle, so very easy car to drive in that sense. But yeah, the rear seats, not that much space, but it is a lovely place to spend time because the seats are great, very comfortable back there as it is in the front. You have your own climate control back there too. But this kind of reminds me of like the Acura TLX in terms of the amount of space back there. I don't really care because I'm going to be spending my time in the front seats, but something to keep in mind. If you need more space, go with like an S-Class or something, just saying. But one feature I absolutely love with Mercedes is the fact that you can fold down the seats 60/40 in the rear. Very helpful feature. You know, in this world of SUVs and this craze for SUVs, I'm glad that Mercedes is injecting this level of practicality in their rear-wheel drive sedans like this. It makes this an extremely pragmatic car. And let's go ahead and let's talk about the conclusions now. Okay, so like I mentioned before, if you're in the luxury car market, this is a great vehicle to take advantage of. Definitely test drive it. There's a lot of competition out there, but you know what? Mercedes actually does stand out amongst all the competition with its looks from the exterior to the interior. Its natural prestige that it has exuding from its body, right? Plenty of features, and also I love the driving characteristic of it. Comfortable, just a small bit of lag from the transmission, but outside of that, it drives great. 4 cylinders, silky smooth still, so it hasn't detracted from the characteristic of this luxury car. So again, I can recommend this E350 comfortably to most people. If you can afford it, go with the E450. That's definitely the motor to complement this driving characteristic, but the 350 is fine. And so again, this vehicle is located at Mercedes-Benz of Cary, North Carolina. You can definitely talk to Alex Ward. He knows literally everything about these vehicles. So tell him thank you for allowing me to check out these vehicles, but thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.